President of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, past presidents, vice presidents, fellows of the Academy, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, students, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of fellows of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Ghana's premier learned society, I welcome you to today's event, which is the third and final day of the J.B. DANQUAH Memorial Lectures. The chairman for today's event is Professor Samuel Sepabede. He is the Vice President of the Sciences Section of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. He's a retired professor in the Department of Food Process Engineering at the University of Ghana, a fellow of the International Academy of Food Science and Technology, and was the Foundation Dean of the Faculty of Engineering Sciences, University of Ghana. Please, shall we welcome the chairman for the occasion.
Good evening. The President of the Academy, past presidents of the Academy, vice presidents, distinguished fellows of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, students. This is the third day of a series on J.B. DANQUAH Memorial Lectures. The past 2 days have been exciting with new information, new insights to help us appreciate the unfinished business of J.B. DANQUAH. We have had a distinguished lecturer taking us through these topics to help us appreciate the man J.B. DANQUAH. Our speaker has been introduced on 2 occasions, and the summary is in the program, so I don't intend to read all of it. Our speaker is a distinguished retired surgeon, a poet, an essayist, and philanthropist and a columnist of the Ghanaian Times. Professor Ladewusolu attended Presbyterian Boys Secondary School. I presume when he was at Udumasi. Some people have such an attachment to Udumasi Krobo. That is where Presec started. All right. He also attended St. Augustine's College and the Glasgow University, graduating with honors. He has had a distinguished career as a surgeon across 5 countries. And this evening, he will continue his discourse on the unfinished business in Voices from Behind the Bars. Let's welcome our distinguished lecturer for this evening, Professor Ladewusolu.
Vice Presidents, and fellows of this distinguished academy. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Nanan, a few nanas are here. The permission, Madam, I'd like to make mention of those who have traveled from afar to be here from Dabala, the headmistress and the group are here. They're very welcome. And anybody else who has come from outside Accra to join us, I say you're also very welcome. As always, the teachers, headmasters, and the students are very dear to us. And today, by the grace of God, we're coming to the close of this series of lectures. The title, as you have seen, I have my pointer, that will be very helpful. That my pointer will scream at you. And as you can see, the information is here. Unfinished business invoices from behind the bars. As explaining that these bars are not constructed as straw, nor were the walls made of colored chalk. But that's neither here nor there. I explained the source of this information and how it was accessed to the process of communication. I had a chance to explain more as well. I explained straight away, I know I do not hesitate to report to say this again. The Reformation is a hidden agenda, no. The Reformation can be used in particular so that they can pursue true patriotism is one of the missions of this religion of unfinished business. I explained that the audience primarily to the youth, but also, of course, the teachers, the parents, and also without their contribution. I made it very clear that there are exclusion criteria, and I have the obligation to repeat these exclusion criteria. But paradoxically, there are fields in which DANQUAH are accepted law, politics, especially partisan politics. The next day, when the word material emerged, because of the tradition of controversy that surrounds the man. The word also was under controversy. It was explained that he was never a parliamentarian. Let that be as it may. The record see repeatedly that word came after his name. So we did know that it's also an exclusion criteria anyway. Explain that it is a letter from which that unfinished business emerged primarily. And for those who are here for the first time, I read only the relevant parts. I am anxious, is this strong enough? This is feeble. What does it look? You are shining candlelight into laser beams. Please say this again. I'm anxious to resume my contribution, the progress and development of Ghana in the field of Ghanaian literature, Twi and English. And explained that for Twi, we read Ghana languages. And in Ghana research, history and culture. I emphasize the importance of the research, in particular the beginning, meaning the scientific method and the love for the science of research. And then he said, I'm anxious also to look into the establish, to develop the education of my children, and then to do a few things at home. Today, we are onto this other field. We saw that I needed to be very humble and that the task was very frightening, yet the tool which I needed to get it done was very reassuring. The humility emerged from the vision that I was simply a canoe sailing the slipstream of a gigantic ocean-going vessel. The frightening bit was this: the content must reflect the values of the man, must be iconic, they must be prophetic, and unfortunately, or whatever, they have to be controversial. Now, if the subtle thing is not worth discussing, so some of the issues I'm going to raise even today may be a bit controversial. The reassurance emerged in that the man himself said to me, "You leave it to me. I shall be this string that links these beads and makes them to one iconic, beautiful ornament for the youth of the nation." The youth are entering now, therefore take a few minutes break to let them in. Are you trying to get me the pointer, please? Am I getting the new pointer? All right, please, you are very welcome. We have covered 3 points already: Ghanaian literature and the research and wellness. By some beautiful coincidence, the man was quote unquote in love with Cocoa, and it so happened that, if I may quote my president, that it looks like we are talking about events which are Puspaima have come. Cocoa is one of them. The Ghanaian, the mother tongue, is another. And the third is where we are now. Research already know, and now we're going to talk about develop the education of my children, 10 of them, and avoid truancy. They go together. Scholarship adorned with humility, and the trammels of prophecy which I've been hinting at all along. And with your permission, I'll say a few words to, as a closure, as my tribute to the man. Education. Develop the education of my children. And when you talk about education, as you know, all of us are here in the academy, professors and so on. Education is very much our business. And you know that it can be structured into 2: as a nurturer of the structure or the provider of the education. We shall look at examining David DANQUAH's unfinished business under these 2 subheadings. The testament as the man as a proven worthy nurturer come from these sources. I draw attention to the last one. Asante Kotoko, it do say director of Kotoko in those days. And just read that. He was a man interested in anything that would make Ghana great. Add one word again, and the job is done. You've missed the joke. Shall I do it again? He was a man interested in anything that would make Ghana great. Again. You got it now? Thank you. That was what Edusei said, that the director of Central Continental Football Club a long time ago. Justice Blair also bore witness, or who came in contact with the late J.B. marveled at his industry. And to be a wealthy model as an instructor or a nurturer of students, you must study to work hard. And this was Robert Armitage, the Gogo's financial secretary at that time, said. He was such a dynamic figure. He did not seek after personal fame or riches. I think maybe the spelling is wrong. His principles were too strong. He would not compromise with them. There are other examples of testimonies which reassure us that indeed he's a worthy person to be chosen as our role model nurturer. The subsets of this particular area are these three. The fallacy of European superiority in intellect or learning. Number two, if you fail an exam, there's no reason to commit suicide. Number three, avoid truancy and any of the common frivolities of exuberant childhood. I know that the family are here. I welcome you also again for joining us. Under each one of these loaded headings, I'd see what I will do to settle them here and there. Start from the right-hand, the extreme side. To nurture the fallacy of European superiority intellect or learning. In his time, that was something worth fighting. It was an idea to have the minds of the youth disabused, so that they know and believe that they are not inferior to the white man. Okay, that was then. What about now? I can only hope and pray that that notion was a thing of the past. In its time, it was not. Therefore, it has to be addressed. And in the blue side, the blue corner, was said by Joe Appiah. He was always courageous, inspired many young men and adults and women who saw in him the complete answer to any fancied superiority in intellect or learning when Europeans are compared with Africans. You are not inferior to anybody. You are just as bright as any of them are. Now, here is a poem that he wrote to underpin that point. Back up, O youth. Kill the bogey, kill that bogey. The bogey that your race is infant. Know ye not that God, I find this line half amusing, half serious, helps only the few who are constant. Does it mean that God is choosy, very selective, very partial? That he helps only those who are constant? Constant means those who work and work consistently and work tirelessly. Or would it help you even if you don't try to help yourself? According to J.B. DANQUAH, you must know that helps only the few who are constant. Nations have been which once were great and grew from nothing but constancy. You are therefore being urged as the youth to carry on the national development for the future from today on, to embrace constancy. So, the great can fall and the small can rise. Do what you would this very instant. Those are not my words, J.B. DANQUAH's words. Just trying to encourage you to work hard at school, because that is your role here and now. If you fail an exam, there's no reason to commit suicide. How many teachers were here who can admit that once upon a time, they also failed an exam? How many can proclaim it in assembly halls like this, or dare to put it in poetry to be proclaimed to the world? Silence. I tried the metric, failed it. I tried it twice more and passed it. I shall say that again. I tried the metric, failed it, tried twice more, and passed it. For the young ones who cannot possibly know what metric stands for, is the London matriculation exam. It is a rate limiting, opportunity opening or closing examination. If you pass it, you are in. If you fail it, you are out. He didn't give up. He pursued, he tried until he got it in. It's a time, since those who are instructing me to participate in this activity said it's time also to say a short story. I have to share this with you. Once upon a time, there was a man who was studying in a faraway land. His colleagues advised him that there's no point trying to do well in an exam, because you'll never be given the distinction because you are black. Blacks are never given distinctions in any exams, so don't bother trying. Okay, he tried, and the first time, that was second MBCB, he failed to get the distinction. The other colleagues said, maybe in a way, now you know that you don't give distinction because you are black. Okay, so I said, okay, that's what it is. So he said, that's what it is. Until he met a white man, a Scotsman, and he said, you coward. You can put your tail between your legs and come into a corner and weep all day to your heart's satisfaction. But if you're a man, stand up and fight. If you're a man. The rest is history. Here is again the man again, DANQUAH. He came across a roadblock. He was down, but not out. The man was down, but not out. After century plus 10, gave the heading of this particular poem. I stumbled into a carriage, but stood erect. I lost a seat, but found it stood. The play of words is explicit, the meaning profound. So, if you stumble at something which you think is within your reach, and you think it's something, you know the cost of it, but not the value of it, it's not the end of the world. You may have to let it go and throw your hand at something else. He lost a seat, yes, but he found a stool. That's what he said in one of his poems entitled Half a Century Plus 10. So far, I've tried to encourage, not I have, he's tried to encourage you from these voices from the unfinished business that if you fail, there's no big deal. Try again. If you tumble, get up and try again. Never give up. So now we come to examine DANQUAH as the provider of education. We've seen the man as a nurturer. We've seen him as, if you like, the one who's trying to help as a role model. But this time, what is his role as the provider of education? And again, since I'm anxious to avoid controversy, I will restrict myself to a few points which were made when I talked to S.K.D. Asante, not the Nana, the other S.K.D. Asante. He wrote an article entitled Remembering JB as Advocate of the Significance of Education. The words which he used are quite interesting. As a vigorous advocate of the significance of education in his own home state, Achimabwakwa, and higher education for national development. I was having a chat with a group from Suganto Dabala a few minutes ago, and I was lamenting at the absence of support that the school is getting from local resources, the chiefs, states, and so on in that area, how they should get together, like it did, and it's fine, support the education in its state. The voice from behind the grave, the voices from the other side are reminding us that the time is still yet for us to support our own schools, wherever they are, to gather together and to move forward. This is the third of the last of the slides on JB as a provider of education. I'd like you to read the poems on that side, but that's a poem. Aim at stars that hold fast. Aim at the stars that hold fast, not the stars that are weak, the ones that hold fast. Dream now and plan your future skies. Madam, I'm talking to you. Stop reading this thing. You can read it outside later. Thank you. It is by the youth that the die is cast, not by the elders, by the youth. It's by you and you that the die is cast, not by your parents or your grandparents, your teachers, whatever. Your future is in your hands. These are not my words, David DANQUAH's words. Now is your time. He would have made time to participate constructively in the debate about gender equality. Would you believe this? I think you should. In one of his poems, he said, "Women leading the field of men with vision." He was quite comfortable to assign to women leadership role. Madam, we're very happy to hear that. To assign to women leadership roles. This we are comfortable with that now. In his time, it wasn't like that. Let's pray that it's going to continue like that. And he was in favor of educating all the children, not just the boys. I need to read this poem of the man for you. It's called "The Woman I Love." Then that the rising sun at dawn, beyond the dark horizon, the eyes were lit with burning fire, more brilliant than had been. The stress had disappeared, the diamond drops of tears. Where all hope had been before, I saw a new determination, for she sang the eagle's song. How many of you dare, there were girls there, to sing the eagle's song? In the voice from beyond the grave, beyond the grave is telling you to study to sing with the eagle's song. All right. Now we are coming to the uncomfortable part of proceedings. Because as a mentor, a nurturer of education, he will be in duty bound to ensure that the common frivolities of exuberant childhood are avoided. These deeds remind you again of the chain that has been produced. Various items linked together by the values of the man. Drug addiction, especially in teenagers in schools. It's nothing new. It's a global event. The health issue has to be an imperative if it finds its way onto the pages of President's State of the Union address. Not too long ago, then one of the presidents of our nation included this topic in his State of the Union address. Now that was the year one was putting together education or quality education for nation development. And one came across this passage. It has to be a national imperative if that address mentions the same breadth as other fractions of society, such as occultism. And it has to be international imperative if, year in, year out, deep pockets continue to fund deeper studies into the subject. You know it's a national disaster in so many parts of the world now. Madam, once again, you mentioned this last Thursday, when you know that it's occurring everywhere. And J.B. Junker was anxious to avoid the truancy, the common frivolities of childhood, of which addiction is one of them. And of course, when tramadol enters the equation, all has changed. I'll try in the next few slides to demonstrate to you what you know the effect of, but maybe one of the theoretical reasons for that. If you're young and you smoke pot, to melt your brain and you flush the unintended mush down the drains. I'll explain some more in detail the scientific reasons for this. I know that we have some very qualified professionals here who are specialists in pharmacology and so on, and they will correct me if I'm wrong. Cannabis use in adolescence has neurotoxic effects. Neurotoxic is a big word for poison to the nerves, plus the brains. For those who started using cannabis regularly from secondary school, they have lost on average about 8 IQ points. These are facts of scientifically confirmed facts. The more cannabis you smoke, the greater the IQ lost. Stopping or reducing the use of cannabis will fail to restore the lost IQ. Cannabis can trigger illnesses such as schizophrenia. In schizophrenia, it's a lifetime problem. In schizophrenia, it's bad news. You know about this already, and you are being reminded once again that flee from this thing, because the voice from beyond the graves will indicate that avoid the truancy and the common frivolities of childhood. It says here, the users are less successful. Who doesn't know that? Educational achievement, marital life, occupation. You all know that. But let me just bring things to a closure in this particular area along this way. The brains undergo critical revamp during adolescence. As you are growing and you reach adolescence, your brains grow faster. And at that stage, they're also more susceptible to the impact of evil things, like drugs of addiction. Young brains, pot is just poison. If you stop or reduce the use of pot, it shall not restore your IQ. There's no sankofa here. There's no sankofa. It also says the more pot you smoke, the greater your lost IQ. What are two? What are some? You cannot smoke pot and expect me to suffer the consequences. What are two? What are some? I've covered the tricky ground so far. I've explained that the education, you can look at it in two ways. One, as a provider, and I restricted that to ladies and the role they have to play in the gender parity. I left other things out. And as a mentor, I explained how we can help out. When times are getting tough for you, and you didn't pass, he told you it's no big deal. I've also failed, but I continued. He also explained that, look, you have to work hard all the time. Now, this portion but scholarship adorned with humility. It's not easy to be a scholar of the stature of DANQUAH, and at the same time be humble. It's almost like a contradiction of terms. So let's just see what other here, I call them the companion virtues of humility which he had to help him along. It says, you need endurance and fortitude, you need courage, you need love, you need prudence, and resilience. Again, here to appear one more time, saying, perhaps our present and future society may do well to remember this noble example of high collective achievement clothed in humility. It's not me, but he's suggesting to you, the young ones in particular, to try and copy him. It's not easy, but if you take it into prayer, by the grace of God, it will happen to you. To help me put across this combination of these attributes, let's see what a poem called The Hunting Party can help us comprehend this. What is going to happen in this poem, and maybe the next one, because almost there, are this. I'm using images which tell the story. Some of the images, when they are shown in pictures, especially the young ones, make the meaning a lot clearer. So let's see how it goes. For we, unlike pre-stressed concrete, are not designed for fixed loads. Who knows here the limits of human endurance, the heights this spirit can attain? From what abyss's edge of despair, for depths of despair, resilience, the fierce labor can help us resurface from what abyss's edge there. Prudence, the tested field marshal, can deploy a word and bid us beat a safe and ordered retreat. Human beings are not pre-stressed concrete. You are put like, if a load is put upon you more than you are designed to bear, you snap like a matchstick. But you are human. You can go a bit further than you think. You can resurface quite easily. You can retreat from the abyss because you are human. Goes on to say, but the devil's trusted envoy Strife, dispatched here to ambush pilgrims through this uneven turf of life. Strife can split David's and Jonathan's in sight two-thread guns, which once fell from the same tit to sink out our teeth into each other's flesh and laugh at the last of the parents' clans. You therefore love, though the youngest, with the bedrock of the golden seven, fortitude, prudence, justice, and mercy, the Grecian form. But humility is your shield and guardian angel. It says here, true humility herself is a tigress, but she hunts ableist in a pack. She relies on others. Courage, the lion heart and leader. Fortitude, the stayer and strategist. And love, the camp keeper and the healer. That is the Nigerian gray. They are bred to stay long distances without tiring. You know that already. And that is what love does. You are to the field and you fight and you are wounded. You come home for a camp keeper and a healer. That's what love does for you. Therefore, even today, more than before, we may be able to make materials to a closure, but not just yet. The tremors of prophecy now have to be exposed. It says here, and this is a quotation again, DANQUAH demonstrated elements of prophecy during his years at school. In the Pastoral Mission Grammar School, KB, he was known to devote long hours in meditation and contemplation. No doubt, he was added, that was the beginning of his philosophical bent. Mr. Chairperson and the President, I'd like to suggest to you this here. Meditation is a science. It's not an art. It's a science for which you can design the endpoint, can decide the things that are required to make it happen. It's like an experiment in chemistry. You need the test tube, you need the acid, you need this, you need magnesium, you need that, put together, and that happens. You record the results, you compare those, you see the expected result and the observed results, and see the gap between where you are, where you ought to be. It is therefore a science. You cannot practice meditation without peeping into prophecy. And DANQUAH did exactly that. Whether he or she has prior knowledge of this truth is irrelevant. But that is the law. And it is not negotiable. You cannot soak yourself naked in the Atlantic and expect to remain dry. Either you are meditating or you are not. If you are, you just cannot help this tremendous of prophecy coming your way. Now, you'll be told. Therefore, I now come to pay my humble tribute to a man who is forever an immortal in our country. And once again, I will take your permission to use imagery to put across the information. The poem in question is called The Final Liberation. It is a reflection of the journey we call life. Some of the words are images of parts of DANQUAH's life, others are opposites of what happened to the man. It closes with imagery of how most of us, with few exceptions, would wish our ends to be. This poem came to me, I was waiting at the airport at Heathrow in 1997. And I was compelled to just take the menu and start scribbling at the back of the menu, the words and images that came with the poem. And goes like this. I shoot the rapids of life. If, as a student, you don't know what rapids are, this is what rapids look like. Therefore, when you're shooting rapids, you are taking risks. You should be schooled in how to do it. You should be schooled in art of swimming. You should be schooled in art of being revived when you're near the drown. And I'm glad of the cliffs at dawn. Here's a person gliding of the cliffs at dawn. You take a leap onto the unknown at the dawn of your life. Anytime you begin your life, you are taking a leap onto the unknown, like he did, like you are doing now. But you serve the thermos at dusk. Here's a person serving the thermos at dusk. By the grace of God, when all has gone well, and at the end of your journey, towards the end of your journey, you can take things easier now and set the thermos at dusk. If you would ride roller coaster, because that's what life is, it's a roller coaster. Stick around. If you want to ride a roller coaster, stick around. If you don't, please bail out now. He continues to say, I highlight further on landing strip. How would you know what the landing strip looks like? Unless you show the landing strip. How can you highlight further on it? Ever so light, ever so gently, except you are a skilled pilot. So you need to be skilled in what you do, so that you can choose to highlight like a feather on landing strip, no matter how narrow, how distant, how unvisited. No longer hostage with the trammels of procreation. You must reach a stage when you are no longer hostage, like he was, and let go lightly for others' prize. He did, and lost his seat, but found a stool. So he let go lightly the particular target of his, and found something else, and let go lightly for others' prize. As Saver meant on solo flight, a lot of his life was a solo flight, without craving, feeling cast away. That was the way it can be with some of you. He says, I cherish solace in solitude without craving bon voyage. To be in solitude, that means you are all by yourself. You need people to say goodbye to you. No, you just go, tell yourself, be by yourself, without craving people to wave goodbye to you. Betting my soul on this hill, that every gain is loss, and every loss is gain. I'm glad to see the joke. Every gain is loss, and every loss is gain. I dance to inner tunes of glory, barefoot on the embers of fortune. To be able to dance, you need to hear the inner tunes of glory, to which you will dance. Nobody else hears that music, but you are barefoot on the embers of fortune. No longer scared of terminal darkness. Terminal darkness is coming to all of us. That's death. I see it, the light. I see it as the Father with the final light. The last few words go like this: to be in love with everyone, but expect not from anyone. God sufficient by the sunset. Now that the final liberation, and that is the
The President of the Academy, distinguished fellows of the Academy, distinguished guests, our esteemed students who have come for 3 days. Let's acknowledge this lecturer. And so when we say that he is a scholar, a surgeon, a poet, we should understand his use of words, imagery to carry home a message. I doubt that anybody will leave this hall not remembering the final liberation. The images you have been shown, that we are in control, and the things that happen to us. He has taken us through many issues this evening, especially for the young ones, and I'm happy we have a lot of young people in the room. But I'm sure there are issues also for the older people. He's helped us to appreciate how nurturing is important and must be held high as we move on in life. Whether you are old or young, just having that interest to nurture another human being and do what is right so the best will come out of them later in life. It's an investment that we cannot put value on. Priceless investment in people. He's advised us on many things, and I would not attempt to summarize. But one that strikes me, the use of drugs. You mentioned tramadol. Especially for the young people in the room, this is not a joke. It has consequences in the future. And he said that you cannot reverse the impact and what happens. If you think you are 16 and you will do it, and when you are 30, you get back, think again. Permanent damage to our system. He's helped us to appreciate, to believe in ourselves, the fallacy of the European superiority and issues related to this, that what we have, we must value. The last 2 days, he showed us the value of some of the foods we have as a nation, and the use of cocoa and the properties of cocoa. And we have cocoa, we grow cocoa. We've heard this many times over. What are we doing with the cocoa that we grow ourselves to take advantage of its properties that are positive in our lives? Meditation is a science. And he went on to, in his poetic presentation, to show us it's important that you take time off the busy schedule and reflect on life. Indeed, it is also very important that we recognize. Yesterday he mentioned to us the wellness ingredients, and I saw the spirituality as one. Let's take time off and think and wait to hear the voice from our Father. Ladies and gentlemen, we have had 3 days of exciting lectures. I pray that we will not leave this auditorium just feeling elated about what has been presented. There are many issues for the young and the old. On behalf of the Academy, President and Fellows, and on your own behalf, we would like to thank our speaker for this excellent delivery the last 3 days. Let's show our appreciation. I am sure that when this is published, it will be one of the must-read for different generations. Thank you very much, Professor, for availing yourself. I made an observation, like a surgeon who cuts precisely and makes sure he doesn't veer into other organs. He spoke for each of the 3 days for just about 45 minutes. Let's acknowledge this. He has been very consistent. His use of modern technology to help us appreciate his lecture, and so the screen that he's using and the system, nobody in this room can say that you didn't see what he was showing. I think it is one of the marks of excellence that our lecturer has shown. And I pray that each one of us in this room will seek this mark of excellence in our lives and endeavors. Thank you very much.
Shall we please continue clapping for them? We would like to thank the chairman very much for steering us through this evening's program. We would like to acknowledge the sponsors of the 3-day event. These are the Office of the President, the National Petroleum Authority, Prudential Bank Limited, Petroleum Commission, Ghana, and Lemont Foods. Shall we please clap for them? We also like to acknowledge the presence of the following schools. They have religiously, consistently been here over the 3 days. These are Presec Legon, not Odumase, Accra Wesley Girls, Achimota School, and ATTC. Shall we please clap for them? I've been reminded that the Dabala generation is also here. We would like to announce that there will be refreshment outside immediately after the program. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank each one of you for being here over the 3 days. I think we've had a very pleasant and exciting time. We've come to the end of the programs for this time. Let's watch out for the other programs that we'll have in future. And please, let's come on time. Thank you very much. Shall we please rise?